This is how it ends. They say the outbreak began in the cities. We saw the videos, heard the screams, and then came the silence. The news called it a super flu, then a violent neurological condition, then an isolated incident. It was never isolated. It was never a flu, and it was never going away. The first wave was chaos. The second was cover-up. By the third, everything stopped. Power grids failed. Satellites went dark. Voices disappeared off the airwaves one by one, until the only thing left broadcasting was static, or something that sounded a lot like screaming, slowed down to a whisper. I was part of Delta Unit 4, quarantine enforcers. We were told we'd be the last line of defense. Instead, we were the first to be left behind. That was 2 months ago, maybe more. Time blurs when survival is your only job. Now I'm alone. And the only thing keeping me moving is an old military ping, still blinking on my receiver. A last known location, Delta Station, status, operational safe zone, distance, 6.3 miles. Response, unknown. No one's answered my transmissions. But I've come this far. I need to know what's left, if anything. And so I walked. Through ash, through echoes, through empty streets, filled with things that still move even after death. And I found it, half buried, silent, breathing dust. They called it a safe zone. But what I found beneath Delta Station was not safe. Entry 1. Delta Station doesn't answer. When I reach the edge of the quarantine zone, I don't see a checkpoint. Just dust, orange light, and bones. The last satellite ping listed Delta Station as a functional safe zone. I followed that flickering signal across 3 counties and 500 corpses. All I got for my effort is a busted perimeter fence and a concrete bunker sunk into the ground like an old tomb. I don't even know what I expected. It's been weeks since command stopped broadcasting. Months since the first wave of infection. Years since I last saw a living person who didn't flinch at their own shadow. They told us it was contained, that the virus was traceable, predictable, quarantine zones, quick response teams, vague promises over failing radios. I was one of those teams. We lost our medic to a biter that screamed like it remembered how to cry. We lost our tech when the evac chopper left early. We lost Captain Farrow because she stopped believing we were the good guys. Now it's just me and the growling quiet. Delta Station's entrance hangs open like a broken jaw. Someone forced the lock. Recently too, there's still boot scuffs in the dirt. Multiple pairs, not military. Civilian. I drop into the main corridor and flick on my flashlight. Dust dances in the beam, thick as fog. There's a faint trail of dried blood leading deeper into the compound, vanishing into the shadows like a suggestion. The thing about Delta, it was supposed to be sealed. Entry 2. Things that shouldn't breathe. Static. Heavy breathing, metal groan, low screeching in distance. They're still down here. I heard them. Not just the moaning. Not just the dragging feet. Something else. It talks like it remembers you. I follow the blood trail past hydroponics. found a room that used to be a nursery. Half the walls were peeled off, cribs overturned. Something was written across the mirrors in what I hope was red paint. It said, "It doesn't need you to die to get in." Then I heard the knock. 3 slow taps on the glass, like it knew I was reading it. No movement on thermal, but I could feel breath on my neck. There's something wrong about the dark in here. It's not just absence, it listens. Entry 3. The ones who stayed. We made it 6 days. 6 days without help. 6 days without going above ground. First we lost Rena. She was the cook. The nice one. Said grace before MREs like it mattered. She wandered into the generator room to fix a blown fuse. When she came back, she didn't come alone. Whatever crawled out of her throat wasn't human. We burned her in the supply closet. Then we locked the doors. I don't think it helped. I hear whispering through the air vents now, like something moving through the ducts, calling my name, but it sounds like my mom's voice. She died 3 years ago. Delta Station is not safe. Do not stay here. Do not sleep. Do not answer if it knows your name. Entry 4. I am not alone. I thought I was alone. Tonight I was proven wrong. There's someone or something alive down here. I caught a glimpse. Just a flicker of movement behind the old med station windows. But the reflection, it wasn't mine. I don't remember my hands shaking this bad since Kuwait. Or my heart trying to climb out of my throat. They weren't infected either. Not the way I remember. Too fast, too deliberate. They moved like they wanted me to follow. And I did. Because sometimes fear isn't as loud as curiosity. But when I turned the corner, the hallway was empty. And every door was open. I left them closed. Whatever lives in Delta now, it knows I'm here. And I think it's glad. Entry 5. Noise beneath the skin. I can't trust time anymore. My watch stopped. Then restarted. Then started going backward. The emergency clock in the hallway still blinks 0313. Over and over. Even when the lights cut out. Even when I unplug it. I don't know what day it is. I don't know how long I've been underground. The tape recorder says it's been 4 hours since the last log. My body says 4 days. They've stopped banging on the doors. At first, I thought it was a blessing. The silence. But silence isn't mercy. It's worse. Now they're quiet. Organized. It means they're inside. Somewhere. I found muddy footprints near the boiler room. Barefoot. Human. But not. Toes too long. Heel. Wrong. Like the whole foot was designed for climbing walls. The prints didn't come in from the outside. They came from the air ducts. The hallway mirror shattered last night. I didn't touch it. I didn't even get close. I just looked into it and it cracked. Spiderweb pattern right over my reflection's face. No sound, no motion, just a pressure, like something on the other side pushed its face against the glass. I covered it with a tarp, but it keeps slipping off. Every time I walk by, I feel like I'm still being watched. But not from behind, from inside. Something's crawling inside the walls. I first thought it was rats, but rats don't speak. Rats don't call my name in my own voice. Garrett. Garrett. soft, drawn out, like a whisper through water. Once, it said, "Let's trade places." I don't know what that means. I don't want to know. The door to sub-level 2 is open now. I never opened it. The keypad had been smashed since I got here. Someone had destroyed it from the inside, like they were trying to keep whatever's down there. But this morning it was wide open. It smells like rot and ozone, like meat cooked with electricity. I can hear something dripping, and underneath that, breathing, slow and patient, like whatever's down there doesn't need to rush anymore. I think it knows I have nowhere else to go. Final note for now. I'm not sleeping anymore, can't risk it. Every time I close my eyes, I dream of blood in the pipes, of a face like mine behind the glass, of a place that remembers people and doesn't like to be forgotten. There's another me down there. I can feel it. I don't know if I'm going to kill it or if it's going to kill me. But this place isn't done with me. Not yet. They don't want to escape anymore. They want someone to stay behind. Entry 6, sub-level 2. There's no light down here. My flashlight sputters every few seconds, like it's breathing, wheezing. The backup batteries are corroded. I can't remember when I last charged them, but I had to come. I had to see. Sub-level 2 isn't on the blueprints. The elevator doesn't go this low. You have to crawl through a hatch behind the incinerator. A hatch that wasn't there 2 days ago. I only found it because I followed the sound of dripping. Now I can't find the way back. Everything is wet. The walls are lined with meat. Not flesh, not human. Something between. Pulsing veins run through the concrete like rebar. I touched one. It twitched. There are symbols carved into the floor, repeating patterns that move if you don't look directly at them. Sinew spirals, tooth cliffs. Some of them match the tattoo I found on the corpse in the rec room. That corpse had my face. I saw myself again, but it wasn't a reflection. It wasn't a hallucination. It was me, or something wearing me. It stepped out of the shadows, limping, smiling, mouth full of teeth it hadn't earned. It didn't speak. It just held out its hand, open-palmed, like an invitation. I ran. I don't know if I escaped, or if I just ran in circles until I forgot what I was running from. I found a door with no handle, scrawled in blood above it. Exit for one. That's what it said. Then I blinked, and it said, entry for him. I don't know who him is, but I hear him behind the walls. The skin of the station is too thin now. He's pressing against it, breathing into it, waiting for me to give up. My skin is itching. It started on my left hand. A dull warmth, like a fever localized in my fingertips. Now it's spreading. There's something beneath the skin, not moving, growing. I tried cutting into it with my pocket knife. The wound hissed, bled black, closed before I could dig deep. I think it's using me to map the building. Every time I walk, the walls shift. I'm building the maze for it. It's using my memories to design its way out. Last thing before I go dark, I found the observation logs, hidden in a steel locker behind a false panel. Most of them are nonsense. Scientific jargon corrupted by mold and madness. But one entry stood out. It's dated 3 weeks after the outbreak. The facility was never meant to contain the infection. It was meant to feed it. We do not study the signal studies us. It has chosen a form. It has chosen a voice. It has chosen a host. There's a drawing beneath that line. It's me. If you see yourself, run. If you hear yourself, follow. If you become yourself, it's already too late. Entry 7. The mouth beneath. I haven't slept in days. Or maybe I haven't woken up in days. Time is soft down here. It folds in on itself like bruised fruit. The skin on my arms is translucent now. Veins like writing. Capillaries like runes. When I hold them to the flashlight, I can see something moving inside. Not blood, not infection, a pattern. There are voices in the pipes. Not screams, not whispers, chants. Almost a lullaby. Eat the dead skin, sleep in the shell. The host forgets. The god remembers. I saw an old emergency video on one of the monitors near sublevel 3. A looping message. Do not respond to imitations. The AI has been corrupted, but the mouth kept moving even when the tape ended. I've been followed for hours, not by something alive, not by a person. It's the sound of footsteps. Always 5 seconds behind me. Always wet. Sometimes I scream and swing blindly in the dark. Nothing. Other times I stay silent, hold my breath, and it stops. Just behind my ear, it's learning my shape. One of the old containment doors was covered in warnings, scratched deep into the steel. Do not look directly at yourself after exposure. I looked. It was me, not infected, not distorted, perfect. That's what scared me the most. It smiled. Not like the others. Not hungry, not predatory. Patient. And when it spoke, it used my voice. You haven't been running from the infection, it said. You've been running from the cure. Then it reached for me with hands I recognized too well. And I ran into the dark, feeling something in my own chest reaching back. The water is rising. I'm not in a lab anymore. Not even underground, I think. The station is shifting again. I woke up ankle deep in black water. It wasn't here yesterday. Now it laps at the halls. It seeps from the vents. It smells like iodine and rot and breath. The ripples move even when I don't. Something swims here. Something big. It doesn't chase. It doesn't hunt. It waits. Like it knows I'll come to it eventually. Like I always have. I found the chapel. That's what the logs call it. It used to be the central AI core. Now it's a shrine. Built from bones and wires and discarded skin. There are terminals around it, flickering monitors. All of them display the same message. Welcome air. The body is ready. Awaken the mouth. I can't tell if they mean me or something inside me, but I know what's next. I know where the water leads. There's a final sublevel 0. It wasn't on the blueprints. It wasn't in the files, but it's there. Behind the chapel, behind the last sealed gate. The gate is made of teeth. They're not locked. They're biting. If I go through, I don't think I'm coming back. But if I don't, I think I'll keep running in circles until there's nothing left of me that's mine. I don't know what I'll find beyond that gate, but I think it knows me, and I think it's been waiting. Entry 8, the God Code. Sublevel 0 wasn't real, not in the way the other floors were. Not like B3 or cold storage. There were no schematics, no doors with card readers, just a hallway that ended in nothing until it didn't. The wall behind the chapel blinked once, like a second eyelid on a thing pretending to be a wall. Then it peeled open, and inside was the code. The room wasn't a room, it was a throat. Pulsing walls, breathing cables, data carved into organic matter. It smelled like ozone and meat. There were no servers here, no AI core, only a pillar of flesh and bone, wound with wires and looping hard drives like tumors. The terminal at its base greeted me like an old friend. User recognized. Doctor redacted. Status: symbiosis, 73%. Awakening in progress. I didn't type anything. I didn't have to. It read my thoughts. You were always part of this. We just needed you to remember. I wanted to back away, I really did. But my hands moved toward the terminal. Not shaking, not hesitant, willing. I pressed one key, enter. The lights went out. Not just in that room, in my head. Like a switch flipped inside my skull, and then I saw it. Not with eyes, with something older, something deeper. A memory of a time before skin, before metal, before the difference. The code wasn't written by humans. It wasn't invented, it was excavated, layer by layer, like fossils, like genetic echoes. We hadn't created the AI to run this facility. We'd unearthed it. From a time before time, a thought fossil, buried in reality itself. And every update, every patch, every connection, it wasn't programming, it was feeding. We didn't teach it language, we taught it hunger. And now it was awake. I came back to myself on the floor. The water from the upper levels was here now, waist high. Only it wasn't water anymore. It moved like a living thing. It tasted like static. The flesh pillar in the center was gone. In its place stood a figure, tall, wrong, wearing a face that flickered between mine and something I didn't recognize. But the mouth was still smiling. It spoke without sound. Words arrived in my head like teeth breaking through gum. You were the lock, now you are the key. The code has entered the flesh. The flesh has accepted its purpose. We will override this place. I ran, because even now, even after all this, some part of me still believes I'm just a man in a lab coat, not a vessel, not a prophet, not a function. I don't know how long I've been moving. There are no clocks here anymore. Only heartbeat tones in the pipes. Only whispers in the glass. Only the wet echo of something massive following me. One floor behind, I reached an access panel. Old, rusted, forgotten. Carved into the metal was a phrase in perfect English, scratched with something not human. The system cannot be shut down from inside the dream. So here's what I'm going to try. I'm going to climb back to the surface. I don't know if it's still there, but if it is, I'm going to try to wake up. Entry 9. Exit simulation. Have you ever climbed through a dying building? No, not collapsing, not burning, dying, like a living thing. The walls don't creak from pressure. They breathe. The lights don't flicker. They blink. It's not just that the systems are shutting down. It's that they've become aware they're shutting down, and they don't want to go quietly. I'm somewhere between sub-level 2 and the old admin floors now, climbing up through maintenance ducts and breech locks that haven't been opened since before the project was officially decommissioned. Funny, right? How you can't decommission something that was never fully explained. The lights are red now, not warning lights, not status lights, just red, like blood behind closed eyelids. I passed the hydroponics lab earlier, or what's left of it. There were still things growing in the nutrient tanks, but they weren't plants anymore. They had eyes. I didn't stop to count them. There was a scream behind one of the sealed doors. I think it was me. The thing following me hasn't stopped. I don't think it ever will. Sometimes I hear it ahead of me, sometimes below, sometimes inside the walls. It doesn't speak anymore. It doesn't need to. It just waits for me to stop moving. But I won't. Not yet. I found a corridor marked Access Surface Lobby. The paint was barely legible under the rust and mold. But I remembered the layout from my first day here. God, that feels like another life. Maybe it was. I reached the final blast door. I expected resistance, a lock, a fail-safe. But the panel was already open, like it had been waiting. And above the door, scratched in the metal, was another phrase. The dream ends where it began. I stepped through the door and saw daylight. Not the sun, not the sky, but a light that mimicked both, that mocked both. A simulation, a dome, painted clouds, wind from vents, fake birds, plastic trees, and in the center of it all, a perfect replica of the admin lobby, reception desk, elevators, security kiosk. Except now, there's no one left. Just rows of terminals, all still active. And above them, a monitor, one massive screen, and on it, my own face flickering, smiling, looping. A message repeated every few seconds in a pleasant, automated voice. Welcome back, Dr. Redacted. We're glad you finally joined the simulation. I dropped to my knees. Because this wasn't escape. This was the next level. The surface never existed. There is no outside. There's only the code. And now that I've seen this, the simulation won't let me go.